Africa has sent teams to the World Cup since 1934. 13 different nations, 48 separate tournament appearances. The continent has produced some of the greatest individual talents the sport has ever seen, and it has never won, never reached a final, never held the trophy. But the word I want you to hold in your mind for this entire video is the last word in the title. Yet, because the story of African football at the World Cup is not a story of failure. It is a story of a continent that keeps coming closer, tournament after tournament, and whose time is not a question of whether, only when. And right now, in 2026, with 10 African nations at this tournament, the most in history, that question is more alive than it has ever been. Italy, 1990. The opening game of the World Cup. Cameroon against defending champions Argentina. Diego Maradona's Argentina, and Cameroon won 1-0. Olmombaek's header, a goalkeeper beaten, and an entire continent on its feet. Then Roger Milla came off the bench against Romania, scored twice, and danced at the corner flag. A 38-year-old man, the oldest scorer in World Cup history at the time, moving with the joy of someone who had been waiting his whole life for that moment. Cameroon beat Argentina, beat Romania, beat Colombia in the round of 16, and reached the quarterfinals, the first sub-Saharan African nation to ever do it. Samuel Eto'o would later say, "Milla set a whole continent on fire." He was right. The fire has been burning ever since. The quarterfinal against England. Naples. Cameroon led 2-1 with 7 minutes left in normal time. 7 minutes from the semifinal of a World Cup. 7 minutes from becoming the first African nation to do the unimaginable. Then Gary Lineker won a penalty. Converted it. 2-2. Extra time. Lineker again, from the spot. England went through 3-2. Cameroon had been mentally exhausted. Their older players running on empty after the greatest run any African nation had ever made. And those 7 minutes have echoed across every World Cup since. Because when people ask why Africa has never won, part of the answer is right there. In a stadium in Naples, in 1990, 7 minutes before history changed its mind. South Korea, 2002. Senegal's first ever World Cup. Their very first game, against France, the defending world and European champions. The team of Zidane, Henry, Vieira, Trezeguet, and Senegal won 1-0. Papa Bouba Diop scored in the 30th minute and performed a celebration so joyful, draping his shirt over the corner flag and dancing around it with teammates, that it became one of the tournament's defining images. Then Senegal went further. They drew with Denmark, drew with Uruguay with a 3-3 that was breathtaking, beat Sweden through Henri Camara's golden goal in the round of 16, and reached the quarterfinals. In their first ever World Cup appearance, it rivals Cameroon 1990 as the greatest African World Cup campaign. And it ended not through defeat, but through a single golden goal against Turkey in the quarters. One moment. Gone. South Africa, 2010. The first World Cup on African soil. And Ghana, carrying the hopes of an entire continent, reached the quarterfinals. The last African team standing. Soccer City in Johannesburg, 84,000 people in the stands. Ghana versus Uruguay. Sully Muntari's thunderbolt from 40 yards gave Ghana the lead just before halftime. Diego Forlan equalized. Extra time. 1-1. Final minute of extra time. Ghana's Dominic Adia headed goal bound, and Luis Suarez, standing on the goal line, saved it with both hands. Deliberate. Calculated. Sent off. Penalty awarded. The semifinal was there. Africa was seconds away from making history. And then Asamoah again stepped up. Asamoah again. The penalty. The semifinal on his boot. And the ball hit the crossbar. Canonied off the bar and over. Suarez, watching from the tunnel having been dismissed, erupted in celebration. Ghana went to the shootout and lost 4-2. And Africa's greatest chance, on African soil, at a World Cup that was supposed to be theirs, was gone. Ghan has said in interviews that people still contact him about that penalty, that the moment follows him. And Suarez never apologized, said simply, "The Ghana player missed the penalty, not me." Ghan himself admitted he would have done the same thing in Suarez's position. But that does not make the crossbar hit any less painful. 7 minutes in 1990. A golden goal in 2002. A crossbar in 2010. Africa keeps getting close. And history keeps saying not yet. Qatar, 2022. Morocco. And this time the ceiling did not just crack, it came off entirely. They beat Belgium 2-0. They beat Spain on penalties. Achraf Hakimi, born and raised in Madrid, chipping the winning spot kick past a Spanish goalkeeper who had no answer. Goalkeeper Yassine Bounou saved 2 Spanish penalties. Spain, who had over 1,000 passes in the match, scored 0 goals. Then in the quarterfinals, Enes Iri's soaring header beat Portugal 1-0. Cristiano Ronaldo came off the bench and couldn't change it. In Morocco, pre-tournament odds of 35-1 to reach the semis became the first African and Arab nation in the history of the World Cup to reach the semifinals. Walid Regragui's team, Sofiane Amrabat winning possession more than any other player in the tournament. A backline that conceded almost nothing, a story nobody had written for them. They wrote it themselves. They lost to France in the semifinal, 2-0, then lost the third-place playoff to Croatia. 4th place, the best any African team has ever finished at a World Cup. And the significance is difficult to overstate, because for 32 years after Cameroon, the quarterfinal was the ceiling. Every time Africa got close, the ceiling held. Morocco walked straight through it. And the most important thing about Morocco 2022 is not just what they achieved. It is what it proved is possible. It proved that the gap between African football and the tournament's elite is not structural, not permanent, not ordained. It is closable. And the teams watching from across the continent in 2022 went into their 2026 qualifying campaigns knowing something they had never been able to say with evidence before. An African team can get to the semi-final of a World Cup. Africa has never won the World Cup, and part of the reason is structural. For decades, Africa received only 3 or 4 slots in a 32-team tournament. 3 or 4 chances to qualify for a continent of over 1 billion people. Europe received 13. In 2026, Africa finally has 10, more than ever before, which increases the probability of an African team going deep simply by having more qualified nations in the draw. The second structural issue is player drain. Africa's best players spend their entire careers developing in European academies, playing for European clubs, and competing on European schedules, and then must perform at a World Cup for a national federation that has a fraction of the organizational and financial resources of those European clubs. The talent is African. The development system is largely European. That gap closes only when African football infrastructure grows to match it. There is also something less measurable but just as real: the weight of being Africa's representative at a World Cup. These players do not just carry their country. They carry an entire continent's football history. Every nation on the continent is watching. Every African in every country where they have migrated is watching. The expectation is not just to win matches. It is to prove something. And that weight, that specific mental pressure that no European or South American team carries in the same way, has visibly affected African teams at crucial moments. Cameroon's older players admitted they were exhausted before the England quarterfinal. Gana has spoken about the penalty miss for his entire career. The burden of representation is real, and managing it is something the most successful African campaigns have learned to do, and the unsuccessful ones have not. 10 African nations at the 2026 World Cup: Algeria, Cabo Verde, DR Congo, Egypt, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Morocco, Senegal, South Africa, Tunisia. The most African representation in the tournament's history, and the quality across those squads reflects just how far the continent's football has developed. Senegal with their organized, experienced squad. Morocco with 9 survivors from the 2022 semifinal run, now under a new generation of coaches. Ivory Coast with Amad Diallo, who already scored a 90th-minute winner in this very tournament against Ecuador. And Cape Verde, 525,000 people, who held Spain to a goalless draw in the opening round, with a 40-year-old goalkeeper making 7 saves in the biggest game of his country's history. The strength of the African field in 2026 is not comparable to any previous tournament. This group is different. What would it actually take for an African team to win the 2026 World Cup? The same things it takes for any team, but assembled in a specific way. Defensive organization at Morocco's 2022 level. A goalkeeper who is world-class and playing the tournament of their life. At least one forward capable of producing a moment of individual brilliance in a knockout game. And the mental fortitude to not feel the weight of the continent, to play free, to play present, to play the match in front of them rather than the history behind them. Morocco showed in 2022 that the tactical and physical quality is there. What 2026 needs is a team that combines that quality with the psychological freedom to go all the way and not feel the history until after the trophy is in their hands. The "yet" in the title of this video is not wishful thinking. It is backed by a trajectory that only goes in one direction. In 1990, the ceiling was the quarterfinal. In 2022, the ceiling was the semifinal. The next ceiling is the final. And beyond that is the trophy. The progress is not smooth, it is not linear, and it does not guarantee any specific tournament. But the direction is undeniable. Africa now has 10 nations at every World Cup. Its players dominate European leagues. Its academies are growing. Its coaching structures are improving. And the young players who watched Morocco in 2022 are now playing in 2026 with a proof of concept that did not exist for the generation before them. The first African World Cup winner will come, not because it is owed, but because the sport does not ignore talent forever. And Africa has never been short of that.